talk about mental health because it's Purple Month. It's a month set aside by the Ghana Mental Health Authority to enhance public awareness and promote mental well-being. This morning, we discuss what people can do for themselves to ensure mental health at workplaces. Joining us in studio this morning is Dr. Robert Esia. He's a psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Doc, good morning and welcome to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you.
I was expecting you in purple, being it's Purple Month and all.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've been wearing it too. This morning I decided to change.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about mental health. First of all, why is it important that we continue these discussions throughout the month of May?
Yeah, I think it's very important because nobody can live in this world without good mental health. So and then we need to create awareness because sometimes what happens is that people are not aware of certain things at the workplace. You are not aware. Sometimes people put up certain behavior. Maybe you just ignore. Once you are not aware of the common symptoms that the person may be presenting, by the time you are aware, you don't pick the early symptoms, and then it gets worse before maybe the person reports to hospital. So I think that during this Purple Month, we need to create more awareness so people become aware.
Right.
Then as workplace, being a manager, being the HR, you are aware of certain common mental symptoms. People at the workplace, and even the workplace itself can also become so toxic that people, the workers there can also suffer from certain mental illness.
So let's start there. What are some of the things to look out for, when it's happening to you, you know that you should seek some sort of help because your mental health may just be speaking to you that you need to take some caution?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. I think, first of all, you need to assess yourself to see, I came to this work. Sometimes you get to know, or maybe your boss will get to know that your production or your productivity has gone down. And then you see that the things that really maybe initially were very interesting, you are no longer interested. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have depressed moods, or you are being overwhelmed. You are really distressed, or you are stressed up at the work. Mm-hmm. Maybe the high workload. So therefore you are really overwhelmed, and then you are emotionally drained, or you are burning out. So some of these things, when you feel them, you don't need maybe to wait. You need really, maybe you talk to your HR or talk to your manager that these are these things that are happening to me. You need to see professional help and see what can be done so that it is managed early than it gets worse before maybe you come to the hospital.
A word you use, burnout, and often I hear burnout, spiraling, crashing out. Exactly what do these mean so that we can understand and know what to do when it's happening to us?
Burnout is let me just use the simple explanation. Sometimes what happens is that you are working long hours, maybe 12-hour shifts. If it's persistent, it gets to a time that you see that you are overwhelmed or emotionally you are drained. It's like all your efforts, like your strength, you are down. Sometimes it also means that sometimes you are not being recognized even at the workplace that, I'm putting in my best, but nobody seems to really recognize me. And then you feel detached from even the work that you are doing. So you feel yourself that, no, it's like the zeal, the strength, maybe my aim of coming to this workplace to do, I think I've worked enough, and it's like I'm really exhausted. Like you're almost, yeah.
I know that sometimes it's not necessarily the job causing it or your work environment. It could be something happening outside your personal life that you carried into work. So how do you identify that it is the work that's causing me these issues, stress, burnout, crashing out, all of it? How do you know that it is the workspace that is causing you that? Yeah,
thank you. So normally what you need to do, you need to set a boundary between maybe the work life and your personal life. What we call the work-life balance. Some of us, we find it difficult to really set the boundary because sometimes you even carry the work home. So you get there, you are not having time with your family, with your kids, and that kind of things. Like, let me give you a typical example, maybe a teacher at the university, he's carrying PhD work to go and mark, so he gets there, and then it's like, your kids cannot even come to you because you've gone to work maybe 8 hours, and then you come back. You are still working, and sometimes. So when it happens this way, you are not really able to know that is it the work that is really giving me the issue. But sometimes you can point out it's the work. Maybe there's harassment Like there's bullying. Like you have tight deadlines to meet.
Yeah.
Which is maybe you have high expectations to actually meet. So you look at all these things as sometimes you come with anxiety because it's like, hey, when I go and I don't meet this, even the work that you're doing, maybe you have been on contract for a long time.
Yeah.
You are not being made permanent, so you are anxious. Like, or there's a sudden change in the management. Okay. When it happens that way, so the management has changed, they're going to be realignment and that kind of thing. So you don't know, maybe initially you have some niche that you have created for yourself, you're doing things, they're going to change you, they're going to transfer you. So some of these things really creates problem for the person's mental health.
I've heard you talk about work-life balance and what crash outs, burning out and all that. I'm sure we'll get to how we can stay afloat, but Ben will come in at this point.
Okay.
Doc, I'd like to start off with maybe just a brief appreciation. What is mental health?
So mental health is just a state of being where the person is able to recognize his own abilities and then is able to cope with normal stresses of life and able to work productively and then also to contribute to the community.
So if you don't have that balance, that equilibrium,
yes,
then
your
mental health
yes, then we have issues.
How do you determine that?
So normally we are looking at we all go through stress. Like we are saying that the person should be able to cope with normal sources of life.
I believe the question Ben asked you right now is how do you know that your mental health is not well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes what happens is that like I'll come there. So there are stresses that we all go through, then we're able to manage. But if you see that like yours is really at the point that maybe you come to work, you are even afraid, you can't even do anything. Then you get to know that no, initially when I came, it wasn't like this. So what is really happening to me? Sometimes maybe you have gone through maybe a very difficult situation at the workplace. Maybe you've spoken to in a harsh way that has really affected your self-esteem. So you know that no, definitely this is not how. So sometimes we can even pick it from our own colleagues. Somebody who's so jovial, hardworking, very friendly, all of a sudden he's being isolated. There's change in behavior, he's a bit irritable and that kind of thing. So you get to know that no, this is my mental health, this is not how maybe. Sometimes we all know. We go through situations, but we come out. But sometimes it's like, no, these things that the person is going through, this change in behavior is really out of place.
And so, of course, once you start seeing those signals, you must pay attention to that.
Yes, you have to pay attention to it.
The problem is that companies often should also be able to see this from HR to supervisors and say, but this person is not the usual, so let's get some help for the person. But like you said, just like we have toxic relationships, we also have toxic
working
workplaces. And that's an interesting picture. In terms of the boundaries, though, what kind of boundaries should we all be setting? You spoke about some people taking work home so that you've worked for 8-10 hours, you are home, your family can't even enjoy you because you're still working. What boundaries should we be setting?
So you need to set a very healthy like a work-life boundary where, let me use, sometimes it's difficult really setting the boundary, but you have to do it because like a doctor, you go home and they are still calling you about this and that and that and that. So is it a question that you are not going to pick the call? But sometimes if it's a workplace, you have to make it, maybe tell your colleagues, tell the HR, tell your supervisor or the manager that when I come to work, I try to do all that I can do. When I leave home, when I go home, it's like work should be work. And then home should be home. Or my relation with my family or my kids or whatever should be. Because if you don't do it that way, then we are always like under pressure. Sometimes you go home and then you are reading mails maybe from job. Like there's direction given to you or there's maybe you have to meet this deadline. So you even panic.
It sounds more idealistic than real.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's quite difficult.
It's not our reality. We all checking our emails at home, we're taking calls with our
sometimes if there needs be. But it shouldn't be the usual that like you go home and you are still like as if you are still making as if you are still at work.
So it shouldn't be the norm.
It shouldn't be the norm. But once in a while, yes, maybe somebody want to find confirmation from you. Maybe I've seen this. Can you clarify? That's okay. But if it's the norm that every day, it's like you go. I've had this issue sometimes with my wife. So you come home and see like you are still at the workplace. And sometimes you see the case, the mother of this. I remember one day I was just playing with my small boy. He told me that you do know I don't want to be a doctor because you don't come home early. And when you come, you are still on your laptop and that kind of thing. So that's why I'm saying that if possible, you try to make sure that you set a healthy boundary between the work and then the home.
I know people who, and from time to time I have to do that. When I'm on leave, I'm on leave.
Yes.
A few times you may have people.
Yeah, you have to come.
Okay, there's an emergency and you have to come and do something. Some people will not respond to emails or anything. In fact, there'll be automatic responses.
Yeah.
I am on leave, this and that and that.
I think
till the person returns. But there's the other side of it. If you look at job instability, job insecurity in our part of the world, and then the work-life imbalance, right? In some firms, and you can talk medicine, you can talk law, you can talk some categories, right?
Yes.
You must, because people aspire to becoming this or that. If you are going to make partner in a number of years, people are working how many hours? Yeah. If you are the odd one out, you are not making partner. You are not getting here.
Yes.
In such settings, what do? So that's what you've chosen.
Yes, I think, yes, you have chosen, but I think still you need to make a proper balance. Yes, I know maybe if I leave, sometimes what I always say is that if there's time for leave, some people, they even buy their leave, the company will say, we'll pay you and then stay on. But for how long are you going to do that? Yes, maybe you get the money, you stay on.
I hear they call that twasunewu.
Yes, but you end up really, you are getting exhausted all the time. So by the time you are aware, sometimes, after some people that they are doing very well in the companies, but back home, you see how the family have been, that kind of, yes. So you need to find a balance to know that, yes, I know, sometimes, yes, like you said, you're on leave, I'm on leave, yes, so maybe tomorrow, but once in a while, if there's a need to maybe contact or you come in, you dash in and you're out, it's better. Than it's like you're on leave or you don't go leave at all, or you're working 12 hours, you don't even take 5 minutes rest. At least you walk around and then you relax more. But some people, like sometimes we the doctors, sometimes we are fine doing that. You can go and see 12-hour shift. And then even sometimes if you are coming and the patient is angry, doctor, I've sat for a long time and then so I just tell them, please, I want to take 5 minutes walk. So I'll be in. Otherwise, you sit there whole 12 hours without even stretching your leg.
And that sedentary bit too, very familiar.
Yes.
Can cause you a lot of
cause a lot of issues. Because when your physical health is not even well, it affects your mood and your mental health as well.
There's a quick follow-up I have for you, but I just wanted to link it. Even as we talk about work, students also work in the sense of the academic work they are doing. And there too, I know very well that in some settings, the burden is so high, especially at tertiary level and all of that. And if you're not careful, you can easily
that is also another big issue, because sometimes, in Ghana now, some people are working and they are still schooling, they are doing MBA. I have some of my colleagues. Sometimes, see, they come to work, they come to the class, they're already tired, they are sleeping. And then there are some of the courses, like you go to medical school. Sometimes at the point when you're in medical school, your friends seem to see you like you are anti-so, or you don't really go to social gathering, because if you see the volume of work you have to do, sometimes some people really break down. And they have to go and see maybe a psychologist, they have to go for counseling, because there's a lot of work to do. So all these things, that's why we always have to find a balance. I remember in medical school, Sundays, we make it that we have to go and play football. So we have some small teams. We've named ourselves, we have given medical terms to them, maybe like referrals, this and this, so that we'll go and play. Other than that, it's like, it's going to be book. Then you can even break down during the course of the program.
Well, I guess all work and no play has its effects. Maybe we can start talking about, Sweetie, the effects of the stress, if we may.
Right before we get there, I'm hearing you talk about balance. Listen, I take mental health seriously. I have a group of young women that I'm all constantly on their neck. I've forgotten who was it that said the unexamined life is not worth living. Some people do not even know. They don't have the presence of mind or awareness to be able to check and see that what's happening to me right now is not normal. So let's talk about how those safeguards, right? The balance you're talking about, let's go deeper than that. So maybe you need to first be aware that this is how I do life. And when you start noticing some things not going in that routine well for you, then you know that you should seek help. So the question I guess I'm asking is, how do you actually know for sure that you are not well? I know how it feels to be barely battling to breathe while your work environment is maybe belittling you or stressing you. I know how that works. And that's because I pay attention to how I do life. So let's talk about that.
So, no matter what happens is that for mental health, you see, there are some minor issues that you yourself will pick. But the other ones that sometimes somebody outside or a close relative who observe you and get to know that, no, this is not you. Like, let me take a common a condition like depression. Maybe you've come to work, you expect to be promoted or to be recognized, and it's like you are not even, like, maybe you are not being valued, but you know you are putting your best. So you start having maybe low mood, which is persistent.
So the mood.
Yes, the mood has changed.
Okay.
The behavior has changed. And see that the person interest, maybe he's a chorister. No, like he doesn't even feel like going to church again. Like we are talking, he's losing concentration. Like he's not able to sleep well. He has sleep issues. Some of them, you see that they have poor coping mechanisms. They start using medication or drugs to cope with what the stress that they are going through. So sometimes you get to know yourself that no, this is not me.
All right.
There's
so
something wrong.
Once you notice, what do you do?
So once you notice, I think the best place is to come to us, see a professional, for discuss it. So at the workplace, you may discuss it. Sometimes when issues are, let's say, at this level, you can even discuss with somebody, a co-worker that you confine. Because sometimes if you are not careful, you go and discuss, I'm having it, the next day, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that's why I'm saying that for even the workplace, the HR and the managers need to be trained on maybe mental health awareness so that somebody comes to tell you his or her issue. And we have what they called, there's a program that we call employee assistance program, where maybe you give people the chance to go and then discuss their issues without it coming out. So,
before you even come to seek help with professionals, what can we do as individuals where we notice that we are not well up there?
So I always say that when you're at the workplace, sometimes you have to, there are certain particular things you can do. Maybe you have to always have a positive mindset. Like, if you do something small, and then you have to appreciate, just show gratitude.
Celebrate the small
yes.
wins. Yeah.
Or break your task. They're giving you maybe a 1 year goal that you have to achieve. Break it down. You don't have to wait the last minute, then you come, you want to achieve all, then break it down. Maybe this month, the first quarter, I'll be able to achieve this. It's good. So it motivates you and gives you mind stimulation, because other than that, you feel that, oh, this way, can I do it? And then the anxiety, the depression is setting in. No, this one, because and sometimes when I say you have positive mindset, you don't wait for somebody to tell you that you've done well. Oh, I have done it. This is what my boss expected me to do. I've done it. And then sometimes I always say the managers or the HR, they should also, sometimes it's not about giving the person money. Just to say, recognize the person. Reward. Maybe, oh, at the end of the month, this is the best worker. Yes, I'm small, this thing is there.
Our director says the money aspect is very necessary.
Yes, it's very necessary. So we are talking about motivation, but we have the extrinsic and the intrinsic. So whichever we, sometimes even just recognize this is maybe you have a WhatsApp page, oh, the best worker or the one who dressed nicely today is this person. It motivates the person's mood. We're talking about the person's mental health. So
what about physical exercise?
Physical exercise is very good. You have to have good sleep, and then you have to also have a balanced diet. Sometimes it's not about
diet.
Yes, that is also
about that.
Because you need to have a good balanced diet so that the nutrient in there can also help to boost the immune system as well as your mental health. So you don't have to just eat anything, because if whatever you eat, like whatever goes in, is whatever is going to really build the body. So if you are eating, excuse my word, junks, it's going to affect. And you are going to put on weight. You are going to have maybe diabetes, hypertension. These chronic diseases also have associated what we call mental health conditions, like depression and those things. So sometimes I remember you go to hospital, the doctor tells you that you have diabetes, and it's not well explained to you. You live there very sad. Okay. Some people, yes, maybe at the end of the day, you have chronic kidney disease. All the physical conditions have the associated mental health comorbidities. So you need to eat healthy, exercise. Not that you wait till one day maybe your FM is doing like walk and then you go. At least every day or every week and do some short exercise 3 or 4 times a week. It's better. It keeps the body healthy, and then it also reduces stress as well.
Okay.
Speaking of which, before we get back on the road of workplace mental health, I just got a message come through. It got me smiling. This person says, he says I shouldn't mention his name, so I won't. He says, Doc, how important is regular sex to keeping good or maintaining good mental health?
I think that is also good. Well, sex is also an exercise. It's also exercise as well. And then
so this is sex
like,
exercise,
yes. And again, let me tell you, it's like if couples, whenever there are small issues, there's a sex that settles everything. Sometimes when you have couples, like my pastor used to tell me that whenever I see that one is nagging here, they're pulling things here, the moment sex comes in, settles everything. So sometimes when the denial of that, it also affects the persons. Sometimes some people get, let's say, depressed or they get all sort of things. So I think it's also good. You are all exercising the body. It's also good as well.
I guess.
Yeah.
Frustration percolates and then it becomes so many issues. And people will tell you that oftentimes the least thing that should not trigger something will trigger anger. Because
you see that the least thing, like you get to maybe you have been going home even with your work and he's not worried, but this time you go and then he or she is worried because why are you bringing this and that kind of. So sometimes even maybe the child does something and it's like it's you who have done it, but he will just maybe pick on the child because he can't maybe pick on you. So some of these things when they
are you speaking from experience? But anyway, let's move on from there. Coming back to the workplace, you've spoken a bit about what the employee must do. How about the employer? What is the burden on the employer? How do they put those rail guards there to safeguard the mental health of?
Yeah, so I think, like I said earlier on, the employer is very important because sometimes some of the employees, they ignore the mental health aspect of the employees because if the employee has a good mental health, he's able to work very well. His work satisfaction, maybe rate is increased, and then the turnout is low. But in the case where the person is mentally not well, maybe he's depressed, there's absenteeism. Some women will come to work, but he doesn't really put in his or her best. So productivity is low. So what the employer can do, there's what's called the employee assistance program, where maybe you have a counselor or a professional person trained for them, each or every employee to go there and then to discuss their issues. And then again, you need to also have training like for the manager and then the HR, so that at least there's mental awareness. I always think that there should be, even when you are doing something like insurance, there should be like psychotherapy or mental awareness in the insurance so that workers can also go and then maybe seek treatment for when they have mental issues. And again, we need to also take away stigma. Sometimes the person comes in, we have had some cases that you come to a psychiatric hospital or Pantan or Ankafu with a less excuse duty. The next time your employer says, go and bring medical report. Or they should write the diagnosis, which is not true. The person just came, maybe seek treatment. So the moment they see, sometimes there's stigma is still there, but we need to do away with the stigma so that everybody feel free to come. So that maybe even in the workplace, there should be maybe a month for mental health awareness. So that the workers, or you can even invite maybe mental health experts to come and give a talk, awareness, so that at least sometimes it is through this awareness that you get to know that, no, this person, the way he's behaving, who needs more.
I think sometimes even through those, some people will themselves
actually
have mental health issues.
Yes.
My work rate has gone down, my cheerfulness has gone down, I'm seeing this impact.
Yes.
There are times where, you may be doing some work and then you get to the point where you realize that when you wake up in the morning and you think of the fact that you have to go to this place.
Yes.
You start getting
panic attacks.
Once you get there, anxiety, you know that there's a problem.
So once you get there, you know there's a problem. So I think that it's always good for the employer to really rationalize maybe mental health. Like there shouldn't be that discrimination. Sometimes somebody comes for treatment, he's fine. He's able to work, but he comes to work, and it's become an issue. My employer says, my boss says, now I should sit in the house for some time, and it becomes like a battle between you, the psychiatrist, and maybe so you have to write letters, it's fine. And especially for private organizations, it's very difficult. But for maybe even government, still, sometimes what we need to do is that, my employer says I should leave this particular place. I think, yes, you can reassign the person, but discuss with the person that maybe, you are the production unit. You are using this. I think for now, we want to distress you, we want to reduce the stress. So we want to push you to this place, maybe temporary. Or even the workload or the number of hours the person works. You can, let's say, temporarily reduce it for the person to regain his strength and get better and come back. But sometimes it's like the person comes to, like looking at you, because in Ghana, see, we have this perception that once you've been to a mental health, so mental health hospital or you have been to a mental health facility, no. So no matter how well you are, there's something remaining that one day, yes, but sometimes some people will come and then it's like they're well-to-do, they're very fine. But we still have that discrimination that is going on. Now, I think that it shouldn't be the case.
I don't know how we got here, because in other jurisdictions, it's common for people to go for therapy.
Yes.
See what some would call a shrink and others. But here, once you go there, hey, you'll be tagged. You'll be
you'll be tagged. And I think that through this awareness, people are still getting to understand. Because I remember when I was in Campus, there was one general, I will not mention the name, he brought a sister there. He actually didn't believe that mental health can be managed for the person to get better and even get back to work.
Wow.
Yeah, so he brought a sister, and then the sister was saying that she's got, she has given birth to about 30 children, and all of them, their fathers are present, a whole lot of things. So I discussed with the sister. It was difficult taking medication, but eventually, taking the medication, got better because she was a teacher, and then he stopped. For like 3 or 4 months, so eventually I had to write a letter to the headmistress, and then the district director of education that, oh, she's fine. He got back. And the man every day wants me, so, Doc, this thing is really true. I didn't believe in your medication because I had a perception that, oh, for mental health, when you put them on medication, they become like zombies, they can't do anything, and that kind of thing. So I think through this awareness, people are getting to know that it's not always... Shocking eye. Yes.
I have a final question for you. When we talk about work, we're not talking about the buildings. We're talking about the human beings we work with and for.
Yeah.
How do you deal with toxic work colleagues and bosses? Because that's where it starts from. The toxicity
that's where it starts from. But sometimes I always say that you have to build, let's say, positive relationship with people. There are some people too, maybe... Can
you build positive relationship with toxic people?
Sometimes you need to also avoid.
Yeah.
And I think the workplace, there should be policies in place. Like if there's bullying at the workplace or there's harassment, there should be proper policies that if maybe you are sexually harassed or maybe you are spoken in a way that you don't, like, you should be able, there are channels that you can go through. So that when it happens that way, it's like everybody is safe. Other than that, sometimes some people become like bosses that the moment the person even calls you, then you know, oh, like he or she is going to give it to me. So you go there, you are panicking. If it's something that you have done and then you explain, you can't explain. So when it happens that way, it doesn't augur well for the person's mental health, especially for like when it's a toxic place, or the person is also like, sometimes it's not only the building asset, but what about low salary? Financially, the person has financial distress because it's like he's working, but the salary that he's taking home doesn't even meet anything. You go home, the child has been sacked from school, he can't pay bills and that kind of thing. So it's like, we need to look at all this. If, let's say, you are HR manager or you are the manager of a company, how to really maybe look at all these things so that the workers also have a sound mind to work and then increase productivity and then reduce low turnout.
Okay.
On that bit about, toxic work colleagues and all of that, at least something I have learned, I don't know how true it is also that no matter how people are, you have a say in how you respond to them. And also that it depends on whether you choose to meet people in a pacific manner, handshake, or with a punch, a fist. And no matter how people meet you, it depends on how you react to them. How true is that?
Sometimes, like I always say, I don't want to base on hearsay. Sometimes you get to know they are gossiping about you and that kind of thing. Sometimes somebody comes to tell you, oh, this is what they are saying. The person might even be part of it. So there are times that you have to get to know the details of really relax. Take your time. You don't really have to just get up one day and then you want to confront the person. I heard you saying this. I heard you saying that. There are times maybe somebody has said something bad about you, but how you approach it.
That's the issue.
Yes, how you approach it. Solve the issue. Like you pretend as if that some of them, me in my life, I always say that when you say something bad about me, I pretend as if I've not heard it. Okay. Actually, if you know that something you have not done and they are gossiping about you, you throw it away so that everybody has to take care of his or her mental health. If you have to put everything in here, then you end up one day breaking down, and then the person who was looking for you has not gotten you. Oh, we saw her, she's talking to herself, and then she's depressed and that kind of thing. So there's all of things. I just tell my ears that pretend as if you didn't hear, you didn't even see this, and then it
reminds me of what I always say, that they say what the dog will see and bark.
Yes.
The cat will see.
The cat will just
and roll its eyes and move on.
Yes, ignore. You know your mental health is very important than maybe the person, because maybe it's a targeted plan to get to maybe so that you are so stressed up and then you leave the place. But sometimes they say, oh, upon all that we did, this person is still strong. And then I would say that every individual has a way of coping with stress.
Right.
Some break down very easily. Some are very resilient and they still cope.
Dr. Robert Isua, psychiatrist at Accra Psychiatric Hospital, thank you for helping us put in perspective how our mental health affects our productivity at work and what we can do to stay afloat. But before we go, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's time to upgrade because it's not the correct tank. That's right, the tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain or shine, Syntex tank has got your back. So as you hear my voice right now, go outside and check your tank. And if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, then upgrade, because the Syntex tank family is ready to welcome you and help you enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call this number, 0244 335 168 to buy one now or find one of 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. When we return from the break, we'll tell you about the UPSA's national dialogue on tackling revenue leakages in Ghana. Please stay.